Okay, today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting radical expressions. So we talked about radicals or dealing with different roots, and we simplified them last class. Now we're going to add and subtract them. Okay, the main idea here for adding and subtracting is it's just like when we combine like terms with variables. Like when I had 3x plus 5x, that just equaled 8x. Okay, same thing with radicals. They have to have the same radical, so like the same kind of root, and the same number underneath. Okay, so if I had 3 square root 2 and 5 square root 2, that's just going to be 3 plus 5, which is 8, and then we keep the 8 square root, just like we kept the x above. Okay, it didn't become an x squared, it just stayed as an x. Now let's look at an example. Okay, so what they try to do though is they try to give us radicals, and we look, square root of 8 and square root of 2 don't match. But I can actually do something with the square root of 8, okay? Just like last class, we can actually break that down. Okay, so that's going to be 4 and 2. 4 is 2 and 2. So I can actually break down the square root of 8 as 2 square root 2. And then I'm going to just bring this plus 3 square root 2 down. Now, they kind of tricked us a little bit, but now we actually do have square roots that match. We have a square root of 2 and a square root of 2, so we just add the outside numbers. So that would be 5, and then square root 2. And that is our final answer. Adding and subtracting are pretty straightforward. Let's look at another example. All right, let's look at this example. It has 3 terms, but it's still the same concept. So I have square root of 5. I can't break down the square root of 5 anymore. So let's try to break down the square root of 12. What can I break 12 down into? Well, that's easy. That's just 2 and 3. Or sorry, 4 and 3. And then 4 is 2 and 2. Okay, so this is actually going to be 2 square root 3. Okay, now let's break down 45. Well, 45 is 9 and 5. 9 is 3 and 3. Okay, so I have a pair of 3's. So I'm just going to bring that sign down. So minus 3 square root 5. And then I'm going to bring down this first 5 square root 5. Just bring that down here. And this was a plus in between. I'm just bringing that down. Now I'm going to look. What do I have that has matching radicals? They're almost like terms. Well, this one and this one do. Okay, so I have 5 minus 3. Well, 5 minus 3 is 2. Keep the square root 5. And then I just have plus 2 square root 3. Now, since square root 3 and square root 5 don't match, that's my final answer. Yep, and we're all done. So let's look at this example. It actually has a cube root instead of a square root. That's okay. We're just going to do the exact same process. The roots don't match, so we can go ahead and we need to see if we can make them match. So I'm going to do the square root of 54. Well, I can break that down into 9 and 6. Okay, which 9 I can break down into 3 and 3. 6 I can break down into 3 and 2. Okay. So we're looking for groups of 3 now since it's a cube root, so I have one group of 3. Now here's where you got to be careful. I have an 11 out here. So really this is 11 times 3 cube root 2. Okay. Now let's go ahead and break down this 16. 16 is 4 and 4. 2 and 2. 2 and 2. So we're looking for groups of 3, so I have one group of 3 2's. So I'm bringing a 2 out, and then keep that cube root 2. Now that I have matching cube root 2's, now I can go ahead and subtract. But before I do that, I need to simplify this guy right here, which is going to be 33 cube root 2. So if we ever have two numbers that are on the inside, we multiply them. Same thing on the outside. If we have two numbers, we just multiply them. Okay, so minus 2 cube root 2 cube root 2. Now we can go ahead and subtract. So 33 minus 2 is 31, and then it's just cube root 2. All right, that's it for adding and subtracting. Go ahead and try some practice problems.